So my name is Rachel Potts, and I am from St. Paul in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I'm going to be presenting summer camp and after-school enrichment for enrollment, retention, and excellence. So I want this discussion to be more of a dialogue than a monologue, so please feel free to raise your hand and ask questions. I'm going to talk a bit about what we've done, but I really want to hear from you too, and hear what your situations are and see how I can help you and give you some suggestions and encourage you to do this because it's such an incredible opportunity. Let me start with just telling you a little bit about we have had some tech issues because I thought I was going to get the internet and I'm not. So let's see if we can do it this way. This will work. There we go. Okay. So, like I said, I'm from St. Paul in Ann Arbor. We are a K-8 school, but we also have a preschool program. Our preschool program runs kind of separate from the K-8, and I am the director of the admissions for our K-8 programs. I also, over the years, have added a few other things to my title. So I am also one of our athletic directors there. I teach Math 7. I do the summer camp programs and then the after-school enrichment programs. So I've got a lot of different things going on, but they all integrate together, which actually I find to be really nice. Particular things like the athletic program and our summer camp programs, they work hand in hand. So it's really a nice collaboration. I've been at St. Paul for 12 years this spring, so it's been a while. And over that time, our camp program has changed tremendously, which I will talk to you about. This is our campus in Ann Arbor, and we have two separate locations. So this is our school campus, and it is about 7 miles from our church building, which is in the old historic part of downtown Ann Arbor. So we are kind of a distinct entity from our church, which makes us a little bit unique, and we've got our own challenges because of that. We are right up the hill from Concordia University. This is Concordia's campus down here. This is our school building. So it's a fantastic collaboration that we have with Concordia. They frequently send their students up to us to do different placements. We've also had the football team reading to the preschoolers and all kinds of fun stuff. So it's really nice to have Concordia so close to us. We also, Ann Arbor's the home to the University of Michigan, which is a lot of the families that we serve. We have a lot of the faculty, students. We have students. We have a lot of grad students that come. We also have a lot of international families because of the university as well. People that are working on graduate degrees will often send their kids to us for a period of time. We also have the automotive industry in Southeast Michigan as well. And so there are a lot of rotations with some of the automotive companies. People come in for a couple of years and their kids come to us at St. Paul, and then they go back to Japan or Korea or China. So that's sort of the demographic that we serve. Let's see if I can do this quick here. So bear with me with hyperlinks and videos because we're going to have to kind of trick the system here. Okay. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and that's okay too. All right, I am going to skip that. That was just a short video about our campus. So I am going to go on to our next slide. So our pastor, we have an intentional interim pastor right now. We have been very blessed at St. Paul to have had a pastor for 20 years who just retired. And we have an associate pastor right now, and we also have an interim pastor. So one of the things that Pastor Scott Sommerfeld has been talking about lately is pinches and sparks. And he said there's a lot of times where in our lives we have a pinch, and it's something that feels a little uncomfortable and a little unpleasant and something that we don't really want to do. But he encouraged us over the course of the last couple of months to say, when you've got those moments where something feels a little uncomfortable and something feels like it's something that God's maybe urging you to do a little bit, but you're not crazy about it, sit with the pain for a second. Just sit with the uncomfortability. And eventually it could turn into a spark. So pray about those opportunities and think them through. And I think for us, over the last several years, summer camp has been one of those pinches. We initially had some discomfort with this idea of doing something in the summer. We thought that's when the teachers have their breaks. We don't want to take on a big project in the summertime. But we sat with it for a little bit, and it has turned into a huge blessing for us as a school and as a church. Yep. That's not what I wanted to have happen. Hold on just a second. Let's see if we can't get back here. All right. Thank you for your patience. Okay, I'm going to have to start over here. I think it totally closed out my presentation. Let's try one more time here. There we go. All right. Woo! Let me back up here. This is too far in. Okay, so our pinch and spark at St. Pauline Arbor. So the way that this started was when I began back in 2012. We were losing students. We were having a difficult time. We were not enrolling as many students as we wanted to be, but we were also losing students. And so we started to examine it and say, what's going on here? What is it that's the problem with this? And like I said, in Ann Arbor, we're a town of 2 universities, and we have parents who really value education. And we found in Ann Arbor that the way to get to some of these families is through their children, which is wonderful. But what we didn't have was anything for these kids after school. We had an aftercare program, which is, and we still do, which is an opportunity for kids to go and have a snack and do some homework and go outside and play. But what we weren't offering is we weren't offering any science opportunities. We weren't offering any classes that they could take. And so we said, is this part of it? Could this be something that, even if it's not a problem, is this something that could be a blessing and could keep these kids here? Would it be enough to maintain the students' enrollment and not have them leave? So we started to think about that. And so that was sort of the spark that got our after-school enrichment program going. From there, we said, okay, is there something else that we could do greater than that? And we said, well, what about our staff? We had, at that time, our preschool staff were young moms. And a lot of them had been sending their kids to our year-round summer preschool program, which was great until they got to be 6. And that year, they said, wait a minute. We had 3 teachers who all had kids that were just finishing up preschool and starting kindergarten. And they said, we don't have any place for our kids to go. And it's hard to teach when you don't have any place to put your kids. So for that summer, the preschool program decided, okay, we'll extend our preschool for another year. And so they essentially did some babysitting that year. And really, it was kind of boring. The kids were really not having a good time. They ended up going to the fine arts room and they did Legos. And they did go outside and play on the playground. But when you're doing that 8 hours a day for the whole summer and you're 6 years old, it's not really very exciting. So our preschool director came to me and said, you know, you've started working on this after-school enrichment program. Would you be interested in doing something for summer camps as well for our kids? And she said, selfishly, you know, we need to have some place to put our children. And so I said, let's look at it. Let's see what we can do. The third spark actually came a little bit later, and I'll talk about our different programs here in just a minute. But when COVID happened, we had a lot of people in the community that really needed help with childcare. I think, as you know, there was a great need for essential care workers to have a place for their kids to go. But there were also families that, this was the summer after the shutdown, and there were a lot of families that really wanted their kids to be getting socialized again. And we are in Washtenaw County, which is a pretty conservative county as far as health regulations go. And we said, do we really want to deal with this? And we said, if we can make this work, even with masks on, whatever it takes to get these kids back together and doing something fun and being with other people on a daily basis, why not do it? We can work this. We can make it happen. So those were the three things that were sort of our pinches: losing students and enrollment declining, the lack of opportunity for our staff children, and then the need for childcare in the community. So from there, we decided that our objectives in all of this were going to be that we wanted to retain students and increase enrollment. Along with that, we also wanted to increase people's awareness of us in the community. We wanted to get our name out there with people outside of our church families. Our second one was to provide enriching experiences for our staff children, but also for kids in the community. We live in a neighborhood that we don't typically serve as far as our school goes. So there is Ann Arbor Public Schools are very renowned and have really great programming. So we live in the middle of a rather affluent neighborhood, and a lot of the kids in that neighborhood don't come to St. Paul School. So we said, well, can we reach out to them through our summer camp programs? Can we offer them something that the public schools can't? So providing those enriching experiences both for our own kids and for kids around us, and then providing care for the community in which we live. Showing the Ann Arbor community that, hey, we want to take care of you. We know that COVID has been rough. We want to do what we can to help you and help your kids. So those were our objectives. From there came our summer camp mission. Now, this is not our school mission. It aligns with our school mission, but it's not our school mission. So what our summer camp mission is St. Paul Summer Camp provides enriching summer experiences for children while supporting families in the Ann Arbor community with love. And we really see this as a missional field. We don't just see this. We are providing for the families at our church and school, but we are also providing for families that otherwise would not be hearing about Jesus, would not be in a school or a building where Jesus is taught. So we see this as a really great opportunity. So we started in 2014. That was the year after we had this really boring Lego babysitting thing that went on in the summer. And that year we said, okay, we want to have some really fun camps. And how are we going to do that? We looked at our own staff and we said, well, we could teach stuff, but we were all pretty busy in the summer. The preschool staff was working in preschool. We had a couple teachers that were sort of interested in doing this, but the rest of the staff said, we really value our time off. We're not sure that we want to do this. So we said, who else can we reach out to in the community? And we sort of had the philosophy, we can ask whoever we want to come and run a summer camp. The worst they're going to say is no, and we're no further behind than we were in the beginning. So we started calling people. We called a gymnastics studio. We called art studios. We called people who were teaching martial arts. And we said, look, we would love to have you come and just do a week-long camp on our campus. We've got the space. It's not being used in the summer. What do you think? Do you want to come? And some of them did. We had 6 camps that summer. One of them was a basketball camp taught by our 3rd grade teacher, but the rest of them were people from the community. We had a dance camp that summer. It was a woman who had a studio, and she said, in the summertime, my studio's in downtown. It's hard for people to get to. I would love to do something on your campus. So we said, fantastic. So we did 6 camps that summer. We only had 60 students. There were about 10 kids that were signed up in each one, but it was enough to get us going. Yeah.
Did you charge all these people then, quote unquote, rent your space?
Yes. So what we did with that, and we continue to do this, is we said, we want you in our facility. We took care of registration. We took care of marketing for them, which at the time was not a whole lot. We said, we want 10% back of what you're making. So we will collect the tuition for you. We will do all the registration, and then we will pay out to you all but 10%. And so we've continued to do that. We feel like these programs are valuable enough and get the kids in the door. They meet our mission. And so we continue to do that. We take 10% from these instructors. And I'll talk in a little bit about, they are still vetted with St. Paul and go through our background check and all of that. But that's what they pay, is they pay 10% basically for the facility usage, which covers, I mean, our building is there and we're open for the preschool anyway, so we already have some staff in the building. We don't need to worry about that. That's no cost to us. We do have air conditioning. We have individual room units. That's not costing us much. So really the biggest cost we incurred with that is custodial. So we have to have the custodial staff cleaning. In 2018, we upped that to 21 half-day camps. And we started running the camps in the morning and the afternoon. So we were doing 3-hour camps. We had morning camps, afternoon camps. A couple of those ran the full day, and they were more expensive. But a lot of them were, you would take like a Lego camp in the morning, and then maybe you'd do aviation in the afternoon, or a games camp in the morning, and then a basketball camp in the afternoon. That year, and actually I think we began doing that in 2016, we offered before and lunch and aftercare. So you could sign up we'd start our camps at 9 o'clock. You could sign up for the 8 to 9 o'clock time slot. You could sign up for the lunch. You paid extra for each of those additional things. You could sign up for lunch. And then after camp ended, the second camp ran from 1 to 4, and then you could do 4 to 6 o'clock for aftercare. I will tell you, it was getting really taxing. We had to staff the before, lunch, and aftercare. The logistics of it got to be a little bit much. We weren't sure which kids were leaving at the 12 o'clock time, which kids were staying, which kids were going home for lunch and coming back. So God, in His mercy, said to us, we're going to shake things up a little bit, and 2020 happened. And so then we said, and the pamphlet that you have, if you haven't gotten it, feel free to come up and take one. This was the summer camp that was supposed to happen but didn't. So this was 2020, and it was going to be a fantastic year. We had tons of sessions scheduled. It was going to be a big camp, but we did think as we started this one, oh, we hope this one doesn't kill us, because it was going to be a lot. COVID came. We didn't do these camps, obviously. And like I said, then we kind of shifted our model. We completely changed it. So what we do now, in 2020, we offered day camp. And we wanted to distinguish that from what we had been doing before. So we started referring to that as day camp. And initially, we only offered it to people that were enrolled at St. Paul, but we were getting phone calls daily. People saying, it sounds like you've got camp. Can we sign up for your camp? So we said, as long as we can accommodate and we've got the staff, yeah, absolutely. And we were very fortunate in that we had preschool. Our preschool was suffering tremendously at that time. A lot of parents were working from home, and they said, we got to cut costs somewhere. We can do it by just keeping our kids home with us. So there was a lot of preschool staff that wasn't working. And so when we opened up the summer camp, they said, we would love to have some more hours. And so we absorbed some of the preschool staff for our summer day camp program. We also ran a couple of camps that summer virtually. We've had our cooking camps have been around since 2014, and the instructor said I could do that online. I could Zoom with some of these kids to do some virtual camps. So we did do that year. But since that time, we have continued this day camp, and I will tell you, this is our moneymaker, is the day camp program. It is much more profitable for us because obviously when we run these specialty camps, like I said, we're just really happy that they're there and that they're serving the families. But the day camp is really where we make our money. So we staff our day camp with a director, and we typically have 2 other people on staff at any given time. I'll go into that just a little bit more in a minute. But in 2021, we decided, let's go ahead and reintroduce our specialty camps. So now we have the day camp option that runs from 8 in the morning until 6 at night. You can stay for any portion of that you would like. It's one cost for the day. Or you can piggyback one of the specialty camps on with that, in which case you just pay for whatever portion of the day you're using. We charge a half-day rate if you go to the specialty camp in the morning from 9 to noon, and then if you come back to day camp in the afternoon. So the specialty camps are 9 to 12. You can sign up just for 1 week. We have a lot of members of the community that are still using that, people that live in the neighborhoods, people that are interested in some of these camps that we have. We have several that are very popular. Like I said, the cooking camps are really, really popular. She does 2 every year. She does a baking camp where she does cakes and cookies, and then she does a cooking camp, which sometimes she teaches the kids to do different meals. It's interesting to me, and we just kind of hit on this last year, that a lot of the people that sign up for our cooking camps are some of these international families because they want an American experience, and they feel culturally it's really neat to come and learn how to cook American food. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So you can come for just a week-long camp. The popular ones do tend to fill up. We open it to the public. At the same time, we open our day camp just to our families first, and we do that for 1 week. We give them open enrollment to that because we want to be sure that we're taking care of our school families and also siblings of enrolled students. So we do have some preschool students whose older siblings go to the public school. We allow them to do the early registration as well. So that's for 1 week. And then we open up the day camp to the rest of the community, and at that time we open the specialty camps up as well. And it's first come, first serve. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but this really leads into that. So for the day camp, we require a $200 deposit, and then we charge each week. So parents aren't paying for the whole summer up front. We do require that they enroll for at least 6 weeks, and that they enroll for at least 2 days. Most of our families are full-time. Most of our families are 5 days a week for the 7 weeks that we're open. For our specialty camps, because they are popular and we want to make sure that we've got kids that are coming, we do require payment up front. And it's a smaller cost because it's just you're paying for 1 week at a time. So it's not like you're paying, thousands of dollars for the whole summer. And so, yes, this last year we had 300 students that enrolled for our camps.
How advanced are you requesting them to sign up? Like, is it a month before summer camp, or is it 2 months?
So we close the registration a week before. And the reason we do that is because, so you can keep registering right up until that point. If we don't have, some of the camps, the instructors say, I really need a minimum enrollment to make this happen for costs of supplies and stuff like that. So at that 1 week point, we close the camp. Close the registration. If there haven't been enough kids that sign up, then we don't hold the camp. It doesn't happen very often.
So
it's happened occasionally.
Staffing, because you need to have staff.
So that's just for the specialty camps.
Okay.
The specialty camps are only staffed by the instructor.
Okay.
Occasionally the instructor will hire somebody to help them out, but that's on them. That's not ours.
Right.
Yeah. That's up to them, and they pay that person individually. They run as independent contractors, so they're kind of running their own business. So that's not on us at all.
Okay.
As far as the staffing goes for the day camp, we know because people tell us what they need. So when you register initially, you're saying, I'm going to be there on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, full days.
Okay.
And then you can sign up for the weeks as well. So you
But
tell us the days
keep
and weeks.
The day camp registration open up the week before? or
We don't usually have space. No,
Okay.
no. And you do, like I said, you have to sign up for 6 weeks.
Okay.
If we did have an opening and somebody called us up in the
Yeah.
middle of the summer and said, look, my other daycare fell through, do you have space? If we had space, we would definitely take it at that point. Yeah, we
Okay.
wouldn't turn anybody away.
Do you require that they have 2 people minimum?
Yes, 2
Okay.
people minimum.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, at all times. Absolutely. Yes.
Sorry, just trying to clarify, because I see how ours works and trying to put pieces together. So, I have 36 kids daily, in the summertime.
Okay.
I bring in the dance studio.
Uh-huh.
You can't teach 36 kids at one time.
No.
So I usually split the group in half.
Mhm.
And I've just paid them, like, they come up with a fee and it's heavily discounted and they come in and teach the classes. And then you guys are on the other side of it, entertaining the kids while one group's in.
No. So it's completely different. So we have our day campers, and they are their own distinct entities.
Okay.
So we've got these kids. We've got the 36 kids that are signed up for day camp, and we've got them Monday through Friday. They're here pretty much every week of the summer. What the parents can choose to do though is they can say, I'm looking at your specialty camps over here, which are completely distinct and different. I'm looking at your specialty camps, and this second week of July, you're offering this dance camp, and I would really like Amelia to go to dance camp. Can she do that? For that week, we would only charge her for day camp in the afternoon, and then she would pay for the specialty camp on the side. what would happen in the morning, a lot of those day camp kids get dropped off at the 8 o'clock time, and then one of the instructors will walk them down to the dance camp. And then they go back to day camp at 12 o'clock. Yeah. Yes?
So these specialty camps are the ones that are like 9 to 12, 1 to 4?
So that was the last year that we were going to do that.
Okay.
Yep.
And they run, like the woodworking one is 9 to 12, and that would be Monday through Friday.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it's just that 1 week that
Okay.
it runs.
And then the one
Yep.
that's 9 to 4 is the all-day camp.
Day camp, yes.
Okay.
Yep. So we now have 3 camps in one program, and I'll talk a little bit more about incorporating VBS into this. So we've got our day camp, like I talked about. We've got our specialty camps. This is a camp that I run. It's dog camp, and it's really popular. I love doing this camp. We have people bring in dogs. I sometimes have a Humane Society come in, or vets. I have a bomb squad dog from the University of Michigan come in with his handler. It's a lot of fun. So we've got those 2. And then VBS is 1 week. That's typically in the end of June. And we do integrate it with our day camp program. So that week, in the morning when VBS is happening, our day campers go to VBS. And it functions, we have crews in our VBS program. And so the instructors, the staff from day camp goes with the kids, and they're the crew leader for those kids. So we break it up. Last year we had 30 students in our day camp program, and we had 4 crews. And so there were 4 staff members from us, and they took the kids to VBS. So it actually works out really nicely. Another thing that's...
Charge that much for VBS then?
We charge them for the day camp. Yeah, we charge them for the day camp. If you're signing up just for VBS, you're not paying as much. Right. But again, if you're in day camp, you have to commit to the whole summer. And our staff is with you. So but VBS does do their registration through us as well. So we take all the registration, which as an admissions director, I love. I've got the names of all these kids that are coming to VBS, and I can communicate with their families, which is fantastic. I just love that. Another thing, too, that we've found out recently, when you register your students for any program at St. Paul, if they've gone through the whole registration process and have given us medical insurance information and everything else, our liability insurance for our school covers these kids in these programs. So it also covers the kids for the VBS program, which is fabulous. So we don't have to worry about that.
So you guys charge for your VBS?
We don't charge much. We charge $40 for VBS, if that's all you're doing. Of course, if you're paying for day camp, you're paying for the full day. Yeah, but we just charge the $40 for the full week. Yeah, which, a lot of people use it for daycare, and that's okay. We're happy because they're coming and hearing about Jesus for a whole week. Yes.
So on any given day, you have your all-day camp going.
Yep.
And then you have, in the morning, like 4 other specialty classes going on.
Yeah.
And in the afternoon, 3 or 4 going on in the afternoon.
No specialty camps in the afternoon now.
So 1 to 4?
No, that, like I said, that was before we started
yeah,
day camp.
yeah.
That was 2020, right?
So you'd have like 3 or 4 groups of kids doing these different
Yes.
camps.
And we have, just logistically, we have 2 sign-in locations. So we have 2 entrances into the building, and one is for the day camp kids, and one is for the specialty camp kids. And so parents take them to whichever location they're going to. So that helps to kind of keep them, for us, it's easier to keep track of where everybody's signing in. Okay. All right, so now here's my question to you. You're all here for a reason. You all came to this session for something, and I'm wondering what your pinch points are. I'm wondering what you're thinking about at this point as being this nudge that you're getting to do something, or if you already are running a program, what is it that's got you, what are you wanting to learn more about? So I'm curious to hear from you. What are some of the reasons that you're here? Yeah.
I'm starting one. It's a 6-week program this summer.
Great.
But I want the morning to be, quote unquote, the morning being like 10:30 to 3:30, to be for older kids, like 12 and up.
Okay.
And Pastor said, well, what about the little kids? So I'm like, So, and I was going to be the instructor and find somebody else, to do it. So how do you market? I mean, what do you do for marketing?
So because we have a school, we have a built-in group that we can market to right off the bat.
Okay.
I'll get
Pamphlets,
to.
obviously, yeah.
Yeah, I'll show you in a minute here some of
Okay.
some of the things that we do to market. I will tell you this though, our experience has been the older kids don't come to camp as much.
Really?
No, once they hit about 4th grade, a lot of them stay home by themselves. So it's such a huge cost to parents that really we have had to close a couple of the camps for the specialty camps for older kids because they just don't sign up. Unless it's a really niche market where it's something that's very specialized that older kids would enjoy coming to. We've just found it's really about the daycare. I mean, it's really about having a place for your kids to go. So what we tend to do is either market it more towards the younger kids or have a broad range. We work with somebody that's an independent contractor that runs a Bricks for Kids Lego company, and his range is from kindergarten to 8th grade. He rarely gets the older students, but we open it up. So if somebody wanted to come, they could. My dog camp, I have that because of the dynamic of how the classes run. It's not like they're doing skilled activities. So that one I do kindergarten through 8th grade as well. But really, the younger kids are the ones that are going to come to your camps. Yeah.
Because I was going to do things like jewelry and artwork that's more geared toward the older kids, acrylics and watercolor, and teaching them actually how to do,
Yeah, it is.
pouring.
I totally understand. And we last year, one of the camps that we had to close was a photography camp. And she is a professional photographer. She wanted to teach the kids how to edit their work and all this kind of stuff. She said the younger kids can't do it. But there weren't enough kids that signed up. We had, our pastor's wife is a pilot, and she one summer did aviation camp. And she said, I'll do one for younger kids and one for older kids. The older kids were the ones that she was looking forward to because she was going to take them out to the airport in Ann Arbor and take them up in the tower and actually talk to them about some of the physics and engineering and everything else. She had 7 kids sign up for that. She had 16 sign up for the younger camp. So yeah, it's really about the age. I don't want to discourage you, but
I may have to totally rethink my summer.
or
I think if you were like 1 week, coming from a parent who like my oldest now finally is going to be home on his own this summer and like looking forward to not having to pay daycare costs.
yeah.
But like if there was something he was really interested in, like a Lego building thing, like
Yeah.
I would pay it for a week.
A week, right,
Okay.
right.
But I wouldn't pay all summer
Okay.
because like
Well, I was-
parents who look
yeah.
forward to like finally I don't have to pay. I mean,
Most of our older kids do like 2 days a week for our summer care
Okay,
program.
that's good to know. All right.
Another thing too, you don't want to be in competition with yourself either. So you don't want to run 2 specialty camps that are going to compete against each other. So if you don't want to do, like a Lego camp and an athletic camp that are for the same age kids because they're going to overlap too much and you may not get the enrollment. What would be a better idea is if you're going to run a camp for older kids, put that opposite a camp for younger kids. And so then you've got both of those groups met. Yeah, because you don't want to have a low enrollment in one because the other one is so high. So thinking about your resources, so I've talked to you about St. Paul. Now I'm going to talk to you about you, and I'm going to talk to you about 3 different things. I'm going to talk to you about just some of the logistics of running a camp, some of the administrative things. I'm going to talk to you about some of the decisions you need to make, and then I'll talk to you also about the implementation of it. So is there anybody else that would like to share what you feel like your pinch points are? Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard to get.
It is. Yeah. Yep. And that was one of the things that was nice about running these specialty camps is you don't have to staff them. You're looking for people that are professionals in their area and they staff their own camp, And again, if part of your mission is to get kids in the door, raise awareness about your church or your school, you can do that without having to find staffing. You just have to find people in your area that are willing to do it. And a lot of times, the people that are already in your community know people who could do things. So when we first started that first year, we said, here's what we're trying to do. Does anybody know anybody who does art? Does anybody know anybody who would teach a volleyball camp? Those types of things. And word gets out, and I will tell you that the independent contractors can make quite a bit of money. With some of the bigger camps that run like 20 plus students, they walk away with several $1,000s each week. So it's very desirable. So for the day camp, that's a little bit of a bigger issue. That's harder. What we did last year was we had a director for our day camp program for several years that had worked when we did the specialty camps morning and afternoon, and Brandon had done our before and after care and lunch care, and was super responsible. He was a college student, and we said, we'd like to move you into our director position. And so he held that role for 2 years. And then he took a position in our preschool. We've got this battle. We love each other, but I tell you, man, the staffing. So he took a full-time position in the preschool, and we said we're in need of a director. And we actually found one of our teachers, our second grade teacher. And one of the ways we enticed her was we said, you can bring your kids with you at no charge. So you can have your 2 children here. You're going to be the director of the camp, and you can have your kids here. And we offered them each 2 specialty camps over the course of the summer for free. So we paid for that out of our budget for her kids to attend those camps. So that was one way we got one person in. We are, like I said, we're right down the hill or right up the hill from Concordia. So we also are really blessed to have college students. Although that doesn't always work in the summertime either, because a lot of the students go home and can't afford to stay on campus. Yes.
You mentioned the daycare is sort of the daycare is sort of your moneymaker. After you've paid all expenses, can you share what does that mean? How much money do you make?
Over the course of a summer? So last summer, like I said, we were rolling pretty much full capacity for our day camp program and our specialty camps. One thing I will tell you is that up until this past summer, I did not get paid anything for doing summer camp. So it was something that I did during the summer. Last year, I did get a stipend for that. So at the end of the summer, our principal said, you need to get something. So I got a 5% of the total cost. So we made about $15,000 last year over the course of the summer. So that had some growing pains too. It used to be a non-designated account, meaning that what we made in the summer went into the big pot and we never saw it again. And we said we would really like some money for materials and marketing and all of that. And so then our principal helped us to turn that into a designated fund. And so now what goes into that account stays in that account. Yeah.
Yeah,
We've been doing it for about 20 years. We have a full-time director of summer camp and
Oh.
care. And we have about $100,000.
Oh, my word. Good gravy. Where are you?
In St. Peter, Missouri.
Oh,
But
wow.
we've been doing it for 20 years.
I was
Wow.
saying, yeah, we have about 60 kids in our summer elementary care program, and we probably bring in 25 to 30,000.
That's
in the
fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah. Again, we don't make much off of our specialty camps. So there's a lot more money passing through our doors than what we're keeping.
Yeah.
So,
Those people that are doing those summer camps, that are the child care providers teachers usually, or do you, see, that's the hard
Ours are
part.
high school students.
Most of ours are college workers.
Okay, okay.
I tap into a college. I've got UNLV and this little community college. in
Okay,
Prospect.
okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering.
We try to have,
Yeah.
at least one older.
The other thing you
Yeah.
should check is if you're, so we run an early childhood center and an elementary school, but we have to get a state license to run a camp. So check your state
Yeah.
Yes.
requirements to see whether you have to apply for a special camp license.
yes.
Yeah, like
So-
our program falls under DHS as part of our early childhood program,
Right.
or summer care
Yeah.
program.
Yeah,
And
so
mi-
if you have a preschool or a childhood center, if their license goes up to 9 or 10, like it's pretty standard, then they coverage you.
Now, in Michigan, we're not required to be licensed, and we looked into that a couple years ago, and we would have gotten licensed with our preschool program. We decided for us there wasn't the benefit there. It would have restricted a lot of what we did as far as, the classrooms would have had to have been approved and all of that.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends
then
on
you
the
have
state.
more
If I use
staff.
my preschool spaces, it's a mess. If I use my elementary school space, I can do anything I
Yeah,
want.
exactly,
It depends on the state.
exactly.
You don't want to mix
Yeah,
the
and
two.
and we found that really a lot of the camps in our area weren't licensed, and so it wasn't that this was going to be something that we could market and advertise and say we're a licensed program, so we chose not to do it. Yeah.
I have a question for all of you guys, like, making all this money. How do you guys not just break even? Because we just break even with our budget every year.
And you're not charging enough.
We're not charging them.
Okay.
I actually, and I have to say, I'm in a high-cost area, but I originally was going to charge $275 for the week. And the preschool art teacher said, only $275? You need to go up to at least $325, maybe $350 a week.
For a week?
for a week.
I have the same reaction.
Yeah,
as
our
you.
families would not be able to.
No.
Our
Well,
family
like I said, I'm in a high cost
We
area.
are
I'm in
too.
DC, so
We're not quite
in
that
that area.
affluent.
Yeah, and
But,
you definitely need to look at the market in your area and
I'll say-
determine
Yeah,
what it can handle and what it can't. You don't want to price yourself out of business, but you do want to be able to pay your staff and have a little bit to build your program at the end of the summer
it is
too.
also what you do with your program, because like, we do off-campus field trips 4 days a week with our program. But like, our registration fee covers all those costs. We advertise with families up front. The cost you see on paper is the cost you pay, because not everyone in town does that, and they get all these, and then, I mean, it's budgeting your hours for your workers, and don't shortchange yourself on what
Yeah.
summer care can bring in.
Right.
Yeah, I think, excellent point saying, look at your other summer camps. 'Cause I was looking at it and it just hurt my mind. I'm in the DC area too, and 275 is kind of low end and 350 is the high end and somewhere in between. And I'm going, well, when I add that up, that's more than $1,000 a month, and my school tuition isn't that high. They're paying a premium in the summer for the exact same,
But mine was also gonna include all the supplies.
yeah, well, we're working through that, and we may have a registration fee that covers that.
So my, oh, sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just, my question for you, and it kind of ties in with all of this, is the pushback. So you and I are along the same lines, and like, I just charge a flat rate for through the summer, and I negotiate pay on behalf for the dance company and all the people who come in and do it. So you're though, basically, like if I'm the mom, I'm like picking and I'm having to register my kid each week for a camp.
You don't have to. They could just go to day camp if you want them to.
But in general, like that's kind of the thing.
Yeah.
So it's like 1 week it can be 120, and the next week it's 130,
Yeah.
and so do you get a lot of pushback from parents where they're like, "You're just nickel and diming me. Can you just give me a flat rate?"
Oh, no, because our day camp is a flat rate. So,
Okay.
but the specialty camps, and they're not that different. So, like I said, same thing with, the types of camps you offer. You don't want the pricing on your camps to be very different. Because if you're offering one camp for $100 for a half day and you're offering another one for $220, obviously people are going to sign up for the $100 camp. So it's pretty standard. Most of our camps run between like $130 to $160 in that range for the specialty camps. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so my situation is who is at an actual physical school? Pretty much everyone. So I kind of saw this as an opportunity because I run our preschool, which is small. I'm looking for like ways that we can keep families connected and introduce new families for preschool and things like that.
Yeah.
We also live in a neighborhood where we have 2 elementary schools across the street. So an after-school program is a really great opportunity. I run BBS because most of the children have ministry back here.
That's great.
And looking for ways to add a camp, whether it's music camp or something in there that's just variety.
Uh-huh.
But just kind of looking at it from those bits and nuggets, because I've got kids that are going to these camps and all those kind of things, of like how that kind of works in terms of, I hear a lot of like, I guess I have a couple questions. One being, how does that work with, do you guys have community eds? Because that's what I would be competing against. Because they've got a ton of resources that I can't compete with. So like, that's what my kids go to all summer long. They go to a community ed. Like, I throw them in this art camp or this camp. Do you have that competition that you're fighting against that? And what are you offering that has them choose you over them? And then where does like I hear a lot of like, these are really cool camps, but where is the Jesus element in that beyond that? Because VBS is very specific.
Right.
But I wanted to offer, like I said, a music camp. But we were going to do a Christian musical. Or if I'm going to do a STEM camp, it's going to be science-based around, biblical concepts also. And so how does that kind of fit into that, and what does that look like?
So for us, the day camp is very Jesus-focused, and that's known when the parents sign up, that we're a Christian school, we offer a Christian camp in the summer. The specialty camps, it depends on the instructor. We don't require them to. Several of them are not Christians. We feel they are in our building, they are following our guidelines. We as a staff are demonstrating and living by, Christian standards. And so we don't necessarily have a big push for sharing faith in those specialty camps. But some of our camps are run by people who are members of the congregation, and so that is a part that gets brought into that for sure.
And then do you fight against community ed or anything like that? Like,
We do have a strong community ed program, but they tend to not be run very well. So the parents understand that they're not really a quality. I don't want to say not a quality program. That's not being kind to them. But they don't have the same level of expertise. I mean, like I said, we're hiring professionals to come in and do this, and a lot of the rec and ed classes are not. It's college students or even some high school students that are running those programs. So yeah, it's a different level of expertise and quality. Yeah, and I would say for the issue of aftercare. Our public school has done a terrible job with aftercare. They've done a terrible job with a lot of things post-COVID, and aftercare is one of them. And so there are not enough spots for the kids that need them. So
Did you say they go all the way till 8 o'clock at night?
no, just till 6.
6.
Just till 6.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
It's a long day.
It's a long day. It's a long day. Oh yes.
So I'm new at the place that I and
Okay.
I'm inheriting something.
Okay.
And so what I haven't heard and what is part of their current summer camp is then summer school. Does that play into anything that you do?
We don't. We're just through middle school, and so no, we don't offer any academic-based classes. Yeah. We've done we're doing a writing class this summer, but it's a fun writing camp. So it's not,
So no remedial stuff like
no,
that? Yeah.
nothing remedial. No. Yeah. So we talked about your pinch and your problem. So here's something I had the loaves and the fishes up there a minute ago. I would encourage you to do a resource inventory and think about what you have and what you don't have. The disciples did an inventory of what they had, and they came back and told Jesus, and obviously he didn't limit himself to those resources. He delivered and blessed everybody with much more than what they ever thought that they had. So when you're thinking about the resources and doing an inventory accounting, what you want to look at is your facilities. What space do you have? What can you do in that space that you have? What kind of people do you have? With staffing can be an issue. Are you in an area that has high school students that are looking for jobs or college students? Finances. Is this something that you could start without many resources? Do you have some money somewhere in a more flexible spending account that could get you started? Is there something you could tap into? And then time also. Like I said, sometimes teachers will be a great resource. They don't have the time in which to do this. You don't have the staff that has the time. So be thinking about those 4 areas as you're thinking about either starting a program or adapting the program you currently have. This is a great video that, because of the technology issues, I'm not going to show you, and because we've been having such great discussions, I don't want to spend the time on it. The American Camp Association is a great organization, not a Christian organization, but a great organization nonetheless. And they have this great video that's called Start a Camp. This will be in the slides, and you'll be able to click on it once I get that to you. They also have a lot of resources, too. So you can become certified as a camp director. They have a program that's, I believe it's 40 hours, and you can go through that and become certified as a camp director. And that's a nice option. So that's something that I would recommend to you. Okay, so now getting into the administrative planning. Making a business plan. It sounds like a lot of you are already doing this, so this would not be a step that you would need to take. But if you're thinking about doing this for the first time, think about making a business plan, and think about some of the things I already talked about. The clientele. Who are the people you're going to serve? Think about your finances. What are your resources? Where can you get additional resources if needed? What type of camp are you going to have? Are you going to have a day camp? Are you going to have specialty camps? Are you going to have a residential camp? That's nothing that we've ever thought about, but that's another option that's out there. Think about some risk management. What are some of the things that could happen here, and how are you going to deal with that if it does? Think about staffing issues. I will say that when you're affiliated already with a school or a church, they have a business plan. You're kind of piggybacking onto their business plan, so you don't have to start from scratch on this. Insurance and licensing. So you are going to need to have medical and liability insurance. However, with our registration process, we get all of the medical insurance information from each of our families. So we do not need to worry about that. We've got that all on file. And like I said, because we are registering kids into a St. Paul program, our liability insurance covers this. You would want to check on that and make sure that that's the case. Some of the instructors, the kids are covered under our liability insurance. Some of the instructors also like to have their own liability insurance. Like I said, we have the man who does the Bricks for Kids program. He has his own liability insurance as well. State and local licensing, we talked about that a bit. What does your state and your county or city have to say about camps, and what are the regulations? You want to do your research first and find that out. And then like we talked about, to license or not to license. We chose not to. We weren't required to. It was just going to be a lot of extra paperwork and restrictions on us. So we chose not to be a licensed program. Handbooks and agreements. These are hyperlinks. And again, I apologize for the technology here. I'm not going to be able to show them to you. We have handbooks for our day camp and our specialty camp. They are distinct, separate handbooks. We do have a contract we call it our behavioral contract and media release, but the parents are also signing off that they have received and read the handbooks. That's a Google form that we use. They're required to complete that before the first day. An agreement used for instructors, that's for our specialty camps, that basically outlines the payment schedule for them, outlines the use of the facilities and the room and that sort of thing. You know, don't take the air conditioner remote with you when you leave at the end of the week, because that's a problem for us.
Do you ever have to send anybody home because of behavioral?
We have, yes. It doesn't happen very often. We do have somebody on site all day, every day, that deals with the specialty camps as well. So I'm one of the directors. We have another co-director. She or I are there, not until 6 o'clock, but we are there until the specialty camps are done and the kids are signed out. So there's always someone available to take care of behavioral issues. And we've asked, I think in the years that we've been doing this, so the 9 years now, we've had one student that we asked to not return. But also, you know, that brings up another thing that I haven't really touched on in any of these slides, and that is students with special needs. We have had some parents come to us and say, look, my student's on the spectrum, is it possible to include him? And we've made every accommodation possible to include those kids. We haven't ever had a parent come to us that has said, my child has special needs, and we've said we can't adapt. So we had a boy that started with us and has actually been there every year since we started in 2014. And the week before we opened camps, we invited him in. He walked through the facility. He had his lunch there that week, and so that was really nice. It was really nice to be able to include him. It's also a little sad for me because they asked to enroll him in middle school this year, and we can't accommodate him in a school setting, unfortunately. So we were blessed to have him while we could. Yeah.
I would recommend, so we do chapel as part of ours in camp, right? And we have a lot of kids who come in from the outside. We're not our school kids, so we have to do an orientation of what chapel looks like.
Oh, yeah, that's great. What a great idea. Yeah, I love that. That's fantastic. Okay, so that's the handbooks and agreements. Okay, so now on to decision making. So I told you about our stuff. We're talking about your stuff now, and talking about, you know, the administrative things. Now we'll talk about the decisions that you need to make. Again, some of this you've already done, because if you're running a camp already, you've already considered these things. So location, where is your camp going to be held? Are you going to have it at your school? Are you going to have it at your church? Are you going to rent a space? That's definitely a possibility too. There's nothing that says that you can't rent a facility if you need to. It's just going to be another cost to you in order to do that. But think about the spaces that you have. Think about some of the creative spaces that you have that kids in your area might not otherwise be able to use. Like I showed you on the first picture, we got a huge campus. So we've got lots of outdoor space. This year we're adding a big soccer camp as one of our specialty camps. And this is a group that has done soccer camps in the past. And we reached out to them and said, we've got all these fields out here. They can be your fields for the summer. You can come and mark them, whatever you want to do. And so they're actually going to be there for 6 weeks this summer doing specialty camps. It doesn't infringe on the space we have in our school building because they're outside. They're just going to be using our restrooms and that sort of thing. But it's fantastic to have them as part of our program. So
Use the gym if it rains, or
Yep. The camp structure, we talked about this quite a bit. So are you going to have a day camp or a specialized camp? Is it going to be week-long or for the full summer? Is it going to be half day or full day? These are just some decisions that you need to make about what your camp going to look like. Who are your campers? So somebody asked about, how do you market? Part of the marketing is figuring out who the kids are that you want to come to your camp. I think it's really important to start in your own house. Start with the kids that are at your school. Start with the kids that are in your church. But then encourage them to ask the kids that they're friends with to come with them. I did that with my own kids. Oftentimes I would say, hey, Madeline, why don't you go call up Carly and Sydney and see if they want to come to this camp with you. So really encourage you families. You could even incentivize that a little bit if you chose to. You could offer a discount to families who have invited a friend, a referral discount. That's something that you could think about as well. And this is one of my kids right here. That's a long time ago, though. She's 13 now, a lot taller than that. And that is our cooking camp there. So that must have been baking camp. The schedule. So this was the aviation camp that I mentioned. That was a great camp. We really enjoyed that. When will you begin and end in the summer? We run for 7 weeks. We start a week after school lets out. We found that the teachers don't like us to jump into their classrooms right away when school's out. So they like us to give them a week after school is done before we start up our camps. In August, they also like to have 2 weeks between when our camps finish up and when school starts. Our families are not crazy about that because it leaves this gap in August of about 2 weeks that's a little difficult for them. But it was just too hard for the teachers to get in and get their classroom settled. So we end our camps 2 weeks before. We also are closed the week of July 4th. We found that people just did not enroll that week. It was not worth the time to try and set that up. August, so our cycle seems to be that we have campers in the end of June and we have campers in the beginning of July, but the last couple weeks of July and those first 2 weeks of August are jam-packed. People, for some reason, I don't know if people get tired of having their kids home and they just want them to go do something, and so they send them to camp, but those are our busiest time of those 4 weeks, the last 2 weeks of July and the first 2 weeks of August, so just something to kind of think about. Go ahead.
Does school for y'all not start until September?
Yeah, so we start after Labor Day. I know that, Arizona, we lived in Tucson for a while, and I know that they start here in the beginning of August. So that'll be different too. What will you charge for your camp? Again, what's the market in your area? What can you bear with it still making a profit? You need to look at that. Day camp versus specialty camps, again, the price is different for those. And deposits, payments, or do-it registration, I talked about that a little bit, and you said you have a registration fee as well that you charge. Some of the specialty instructors choose to include the fees with their charge. Other instructors like to separate it out. They'll say their camp is $120 and there's a $30 materials fee, but we leave that up to them. But we don't charge for our day camp. It's a flat rate. So you're paying for that flat rate, and that includes everything the kids are going to need during the day. We do provide T-shirts for our campers during the summer. In the past, we've also done water bottles. That's really up to you. Just think about that ahead of time when you're doing your registration. Make sure you take T-shirt sizes.
So one question on your flat fee.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do off-site activities with your day campers?
We do not.
Okay. So
We do not.
That's where our
No.
fee comes from. We want to take them to a pool.
Yep.
We're going to have to pay for a pool. That's where our registration fee would pay for the off-site activities.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. No, everything's right on site.
The other thing that you might want to take into consideration is if you take those kids off-site, are they still covered by the church insurance?
Ours
The
would not
preschool
be.
insurance?
Ours would not be.
Ours typically are.
We would have to have a ratio of staff members to kids that's greater than what we have during our day camp. So that's part of that. We would have to have, well, again, this goes back to licensing though. If we were licensed with the preschool, we would have to have 3 kids to 1 adult, and we just decided we can't do that. But we're not licensed, so it really wouldn't matter. Transportation was another logistical issue for us.
But if you go off campus, you have to have
A higher teacher to student ratio, yes. Yeah.
Ours, yeah.
Is it standard from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're a 1:18 ratio, but I always overstaff for off campus, and we're really about 1.5 ratio to every 50. Yeah.
So the arms and the legs. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So does your day camp fee cover even that after care?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
So
that's
any
what I
portion
thought.
of that from 8 to 6. Yep,
Okay.
any portion of that that you choose to use. The only exception to that, again, is that we wouldn't charge you for those 3 hours in the morning if they were going off to a specialty camp.
Right, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, how will you pay your instructors and staff? So our day camp staff is paid on an hourly basis. Our director is paid on a salary. So we just decided that the director of the day camp program is doing a lot of extra work, so we do salary that person. Does the director get paid if on staff? Again, I worked for the first several summers without any pay. I would encourage you to pay yourself and put a stipend in there or put an hourly rate. Specialty instructors, again, what we do with them is that we just keep a portion of the tuition that we collect for them.
That's a real deal for them. I mean, a real
It is.
deal, 'cause
It's
if they
very.
had to rent that space.
It's very
my
lucrative.
goodness,
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That would
It's
be significant. for
It
them.
is, and we have a teacher. Actually, she's getting married and moving, so she won't be there this summer. But she did 2 theater camps this summer, and she cleaned up. She made some good money. Yeah, it was nice.
Especially if she's not having to rent this. I could see giving them 90%, but then, you have to rent the space or something.
Yeah.
I mean,
Again, for us, it's that
That's-
affiliation with these great organizations. And I will tell you, when I started looking for people to come in and teach camps, I went right to the top. I thought, like I said, the worst that could happen is they would say no, and then I'd move my way down. So having that affiliation with some of the top organizations in town is really kind of beneficial. Yeah.
Do you give them access to like the kids that sign up for them? Do they get that contact information so that they can use it as a recruitment tool for their programs?
We do give them emails and phone numbers. Yep. So VBS. Some people that I've talked to have not chosen to integrate their VBS with their summer camps. Like I said, we do. We found it works very well. If you were to do it separately, I think the only challenge would be, what are you going to do with those other kids that week? I don't know how your VBS camps are, but our VBS week is huge. Like, we couldn't have 2 separate programs that week. It would just be a nightmare. So we really don't have much of a choice but to integrate them. And it's worked really well. It's worked out very, very well. So this was last year's group here. So we do have about 300 people altogether that come for our VBS program.
And we do it during the day then?
We do. And it's the same time as our specialty camp would be, so it's 9 to 12. Yep.
We make our summer camp theme the VBS thing. So it just covers all summer.
Yeah, that's for the whole summer. Oh.
Yeah.
And
What a
when
great
we
idea.
don't currently do VBS, but when we have in the past, and when we're talking about bringing back, we do VBS the first week of summer to kick off, and then you use that theme all summer for summer camp.
So we do it. It's turned into our first week of camp as well, except that we bring our day campers in for 2 days before that, because we feel like if they're going to be here all summer, we want to get them into the routine of what day camp is like before they start in VBS, because that's such a
So employees know the kids that they're responsible for.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
you said your teachers for day camp are there like crew leaders for
Yep.
VBS. Do you have kids who are at VBS who are not part of your day camp also?
Yes, lots
Okay.
and lots and lots. Yeah, just like I said, 30 of these kids were in our day camp, and the rest of them are just there for Vacation Bible School.
Is VBS run by volunteers or is it paid?
It's volunteers. Our family life director is in charge of VBS, but yeah, the rest are volunteers that come in. Yeah.
So when our kids get their summer camp t-shirt, it's their VBS t-shirt, so that color, and then anyone who does just VBS, they have a separate color t-shirt. So we can distinguish crew, summer
That's-
camp,
yeah.
and then VBS.
Yeah, our kids. These are the VBS shirts that you see here, and then we do have separate for the rest of the camp program. And last year we had supply chain issues, so I'm always embarrassed to show this picture because we ordered these first, and we had a different color picked for this, and this was what we ended up with. So they don't really coordinate well. Yes.
I have a question. Of your 300 kids, what percentage would you say are non-school church families?
So non-school, non-church, we integrate, so we do something a little unique. We integrate our program with other churches in the area. So We have St. Paul. We also have St. Luke Lutheran that's in our area, University Lutheran Chapel at the University of Michigan. And then we have a non-Lutheran church, too, that comes, so New Life. So kids that are not part of St. Paul, I would say that's probably about, I'm guesstimating here, I'd say about 60% are not St. Paul families. I would say about 30% have no church home. So and this is a big one, too, for our international families. A lot of, I talked about they want to come in to do the cooking classes to learn about American culture. They also see summer camp as a great opportunity for language development, too. So
we are like 80-20 on the split, where 80% of our summer camp is community and 20% is actually our kids. And so we were looking at how do we more intentionally try to put those little kind of like bugs or feelers out for the community members of how do we keep maybe or get a few of those families to actually stay into the school year. If there are any strategies that are used there.
Yeah. So I will tell you that it took time. It took time. We've been doing this for almost 10 years now. In the last 2 years, we have had families come to us that said, we came to your summer camp X number of years ago, and then we were looking for a school, and now we're coming to you. So it is not something that you will necessarily see very quickly. It is something that takes some time. But when families start shopping for a school for whatever reason, in our area, a lot of it has been some of the curriculum that's being taught in the public school system, and they're looking for something else, and we're their first choice. They have no affiliation with our church. They have no affiliation with the Lutheran faith, but they've said, we came to your summer camp, so we're interested in enrolling.
Also, just a side note, so we run our specialty camps during the school year as part of our aftercare program. But we don't have them in the summer. We're trying to incorporate something. So we have a fall, winter, and a spring session, and it's like once a week for 8 weeks. Sign up for tap dance, ballet, Broadway rooms. But that's all our kids. That's only our kids during the school year.
I think, so we did that initially too. So when we started doing summer camps that first year, those were the first people I went to, was the ones that were doing our after school enrichment. So Bricks for Kids, the dance camp, the cooking instructor, those were the first ones I contacted. And most of them, since we already had established a relationship with them, they were pretty open to coming and doing summer camp as well. So yeah, that's a great idea. Okay, so just a couple more slides here. What's your mission statement? So we already have really talked about this, but go back and think about what are the things that are nudging you on, and how are you going to solve them? That will turn into your mission statement. Okay, so implementation. Like I just talked about, first step, if you're going to do specialty camps, is to contact specialized instructors in your area. Aim high. Think about the best programs that your community offers, whether it's soccer or whether it's dance or horseback riding or whatever. And we do have a horse camp actually that meets off-site, so that's been fantastic. Contact them. Worst they can say is no. It's not going to hurt. Schedule special camps around availability and facilities, and then determine your themes for your day camp. Sounds like you've got yours every year. You just are using the VBS themes. But for our day camp, we set up a theme for each week. So the week that VBS runs, it's VBS. But then we've got red, white, and blue down on the farm. We do Christmas in July typically too. Implementation, hiring staff. Just some things that we haven't talked about is we do go through background check on all of our staff. So we do iChat, which is a Michigan real simple chat. We also have at our school the Raptor system, which is our check-in for volunteers, and that does a quick background check based on your driver's license. So we do this with all of our summer camp employees. We also do this with all of our VBS volunteers. So they have to come in before VBS starts and run through the Raptor. We do also require that any instructors that are working with the kids go through Ministry Safe. And this is a wonderful program. We don't require this of our VBS volunteers. However, they do go through portions of it when they do their VBS orientation. But everybody else who's an instructor to the kids has to go through and take the test and everything with Ministry Safe. And I will tell you, when we went through accreditation a couple years ago, we had to provide proof that all of our instructors were background checked and had gone through that process. So that's something to think about. online registration system. So we use something called Sports Engine, and it is a system that was set up to do sports registrations, but it works very nicely for camps because it asks for emergency contact information and medical insurance and all of those things. So we've found that that's a really great system to use. We can transfer our registration over from year to year. We can just copy it and reuse it, which for me has been fantastic. You could do paper and pencil or Google Forms if you wanted. The only problem is if you're going to do that, you're going to have a separate registration system. Something like Sports Engine also allows you to take payments through that. So it's a one and done kind of a thing, which is really, really helpful to not have to be tracking people down. Communication, we use emails obviously throughout the summer, but we also have used ClassTag and TeamSnap are a couple of the systems that we use to communicate with our parents. ClassTag is one that it seems that a lot of the elementary kids' families have had either in the classroom. TeamSnap is fantastic. Again, this is an athletic app that we use for communication. Lots of parents have this if you've got kids that are in any kind of sport, club sports or anything. And so it's really easy to just add a classroom into TeamSnap for each of the weeks of specialty camp and then day camp. So it's really a nice communication tool for us. Marketing. So you asked about marketing. We market to our immediate community at school and church. We do emails that go out talking about, especially when registration is getting ready to open, we send out an email. Our website is our landing page for just about everything. We put all of the information on our website for registration, for discussions about the different programs. This brochure, it's got a QR code on the back and that will take you to our website. Basically what you're seeing here is a lot of what's on our website. So we try and keep it really simple. It's, like I said, this is the landing page. Parents can come right here. You can find the handbooks here. You can find the agreement forms on the website. All of that is there. So if you'd like to take a look at that, you can use that QR code on the back for that. And then social media, of course. And this is for marketing the program before it starts in the summer, but also to continue to market through the summer. So we're posting pictures. We do have a separate group that's just our summer camp program that we put all of our parents into, but then we're also putting those same pictures on our school website, or on our school Facebook and Instagram pages, on our church Instagram and Facebook pages as well. So we continue to market throughout the summer with social media. And this is, so you asked about enrolling students and making that connection. This is a success story. This little guy's name is Oreo, and Oreo's parents called me this past January and said, Sophie and David came to dog camp 4 years ago. What year are we in here? 4 years ago. It was 2019. Sophie and David came to St. Paul dog camp, and they just loved camp, and we decided that we want to look at a private school and we'd really like them to come to St. Paul. And so that was just so incredibly exciting for us. And then Mom said, and for Christmas, we got a puppy because of dog camp. So that was, so Oreo came from the Humane Society. And so that was really the nice full circle that came around with our original intent of increasing enrollment and providing specialized opportunities and caring for the community that we live in. So
how did you do dog camp? I love dogs, but boy, yeah.
Well, again, it's just, it's these relationships you have with people, and you start talking, and I was talking to the lady who does my hair, and she said, I know somebody who's a breeder. And so I said, does he want to bring his dogs in? And so he has Samoyeds, which are these big, white, fluffy dogs. He brings in all 7 of his dogs, and he talks about being a breeder and showing dogs, and the kids get to run around in the gym with the dogs, and that's a lot of fun. And then, like I said, we have a bomb sniffing dog that comes from the University of Michigan. He does a demo for us. A vet comes in and talks about being a veterinarian. I have a woman who is deaf, and she brings her dog Gabby in, and Gabby is her hearing ear dog. And so we have a dog every day. We make dog treats for the kids. We've got the kitchen is right off of our gymnasium, so we take them in there and make dog treats. We also do bandanas for the Humane Society that we take in. We talk about what is it to get a dog from a breeder? What is it like to get a dog from the Humane Society? So we talk about the care of animals, what they can do. We also, one of the fun things that I do is I have them do an obstacle course at one point during the day too, like an agility course. So they get to run through tunnels and the kids.
That's cute.
Yeah, and we have a sniffing day too. There's things in different brown paper bags, and we talk about when the bomb sniffing dog, his officer comes in, he talks about how dogs smell different than humans do, and so the kids get to sniff these 11 different bags and try and figure out what's in them.
You could ask the country dogs to come to visit.
Yes, that would be great. Yeah.
Well, you've got therapy dogs too. Yeah, I just wondered how you did.
Yeah, and I will tell you, anything can be a camp, really. I'm doing dirt camp this summer for the first time, and there is a national mud day in June. International Mud Day in June, and so this whole camp is built around International Mud Day, and we're going to play in the dirt, and we're going to talk about rocks and all kinds of fun
I
stuff.
think
So
we should do how to paint the walls in your school. I got it all figured out.
that's great, and clean the bathrooms. That would be a fun one too. Sure, why not? Yes.
And I love that you said, like, I started it at the top, and what's the worst they could say is no, and that's kind of what I've done in the community. But not competing with, like, safety, because you don't have to. A lot of those people who do the classes at the rec center are independent contractors anyways.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's
I'm
yep.
the girl who goes to the roundabout at the rec center and goes, oh, you teach music and you teach piano and then
Yeah.
I call them because they usually have like a private contact information, like you register your kid through the rec center, but you can also contact the professional directly.
Yeah.
And say, hey, you want to come do a camp? You're doing camp at the rec center, but you want to come do a camp? Me too.
Yeah.
And they usually like I haven't had that issue.
Yeah.
Like,
Our,
where they that's what they do. They like it.
our Bricks for Kids instructor does some of the rec and ed, and he likes us the best, he says. So, yeah, he says we're his favorite. And you're right, like our cooking instructor too. She does other schools as well, so it's not just that she comes to us. So yeah, aim high. So is there any other questions I can answer for you, or?
You had a brochure out there about your after-school program.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Do you do specialty classes for that?
Yes.
During the year?
Yes, so we do the same thing you do. We do a fall and a winter and a spring after-school enrichment class. And so that's one day a week, and it usually runs for about 5 or 6 weeks, depending on the class. And it's for about an hour, so it's from 3:30 to 4:30 typically. We also have violin and piano lessons, so we have instructors that come and teach after school too. And a lot of families use that in conjunction with our aftercare program. So the kids.
So you bring in people, specialty people for those people too.
Yep. And again, actually, the two that we're running right now are the Legos and cooking, and so they're the same people we have in the summertime.
And when you do piano camp like that, because you've got 15, 20 students.
Those are individual classes. So we offer them after school. So we again offer the space. And actually, with those two instructors, we have 2 people that are from the University of Michigan that come in. So they're really, really good, and we don't charge them anything. We just give them the classrooms after school to teach lessons.
Do they give 10% back for during the school year after school as well?
Yes, they do. Yep. Well, thank you all so much. This was a long time. I hope you're not all asleep.